Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here with us. We're streaming live from the expo floor in Philadelphia at Reinforce 2025. I'm excited to be here with my co-host, Todd. My name is Fiona McCann. I'm a solutions architect in the public sector, and I am here with my co-host, Todd. Todd, how are you doing today?
Hey everybody, I'm back. I'm Todd, and I'm a senior solutions architect here at AWS, where I work on solutions for the AWS Solutions Library. But we are also joined by a special guest here to talk about Amazon GuardDuty. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks everyone. Happy to be here.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, my name is Sujay Doshi, and I'm a senior product manager with Amazon GuardDuty.
Absolutely. All right, so we're here at Reinforce. This is our security-focused conference, and there's nothing more security than threat detection. I think you have a little something to tell us about threat detection, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, GuardDuty for last 7 odd years have been kind of the native threat detection offering from AWS, and we continue to kind of push the boundaries in making the threat detection offerings more secure, more sophisticated, more native, and kind of helping to find the needle in the haystack.
Absolutely. And so, Todd, I think you were part of an announcement that came out in at reInvent, or you helped and interviewed an announcement at reInvent. So there's a new announcement with GuardDuty at reInvent. What was that?
I think it was general availability of extended threat protection. Is that right?
Yes, we did. So we basically launched this correlation mechanism of the different security signals to kind of give a higher fidelity efficacy finding, looking at different sources of data, and we expanded it today with others.
Okay, all right. So then what's brand new today?
So today we made extended threat detection, an ML and AI powered threat detection capability in GuardDuty now available for your EKS to help detect compromised clusters running on, your EKS deployments.
All right, fantastic. So now threat detection can be done automatically for EKS clusters as well. I'm calling out Adrian. I see your comment. Adrian says that your mustache is on fleek, Todd.
Thanks.
He also says, hey, Fiona. Hey, right back to you, Adrian. And anyone else who's tuned in and joining us, let us know where it is that you're tuning in from and what questions you might have about this threat detection for EKS clusters.
And while we're waiting for the questions to come in, I've got a question for the audience. I want to make sure we get our poll question out so folks have time to answer this. So which of the capabilities of GuardDuty extended threat detection would you find most valuable? And there's a few options here. We'll throw that poll up and we'll see those coming in.
Let us know.
Let us know in the chat as well. Okay, so we're now talking EKS, extended threat detection. What does that mean to is that running in the cluster? Compromise. Give us a little bit more and then we'll jump into a demo.
Absolutely. So extended threat detection is essentially, think about GuardDuty. We enable different, offerings, protection plans, features, you call whatever that is. We'll monitor the data, we'll generate threats, and the output from GuardDuty is usually a finding. With extended threat detection, what we did was, using AI and ML, we're basically correlating all of these security signals, findings, into a sequence that kind of mimics when actually a breach happens. So instead of, for a responder to be looking at 10 different individual security signals, which are actually related to each other as part of, let's say, a breach, will now give you that one set, a critical efficacy finding set. We call that as extended threat detection finding, which will have the references to all these 10 different signals. So that you don't have to go to 10 different places and then come to the conclusion.
I think, so is what you're saying that typically when this sort of breach is happening, it's kind of a multi-step approach. So there's maybe step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are all part of a larger breach that is being attempted. And so rather than a person who's getting that attack happening, having to look at, this one separately from this one, separately from this one. What GuardDuty is now doing is pulling it all together in one larger picture so that they can say, okay, I know that all of this is happening and now I can attack or I can, protect myself from all of this at once.
There's this contextualization that we do. We even enrich that with MITRE's tactics and techniques. That's common kind of taxonomy that the SOC teams usually like to kind of measure on the coverage that we have in our environment, in our cloud deployments. So we'll kind of enrich which all tactics and techniques we see in this entire sequence. And the good thing about this is we'll also do this in a time series. So we don't need to wait for an attack to actually materialize. Even preemptively, we can basically through, just combining signals, we'll let you know. You don't need to wait for the exfiltration. We see the compromise,
Okay, because you're saying that, the exfiltration of data might be step 10 in this process.
Absolutely.
We don't even want it to get there. We want you to say 10 is going to happen, so let's catch it at 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
right.
And you're going to show us how this all works in the console. So should we?
I would love a demo.
Yeah, let's bring up your screen.
Should we do the demo dance?
Okay, let's do. What's the demo? Okay, let's do the
demo dance. Demo dance. Oh, Penelope's dancing with us.
Penelope's dancing. I've just been informed that this is a whole video series online.
All right, let's dive on in.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are you going to be showing us?
So here we are looking at the GuardDuty's landing page, which kind of summarizes what are the different findings we see, the resources that have the findings.
All right.
Then I'll get into kind of the specific to extended threat detection, but just giving kind of an overview of what the console landing page looks like.
Okay.
Then we'll have the findings broken by the severity. Critical is something essentially we talked about the findings that are part of the extended threat detection attack sequence.
Okay.
Those will be tagged with critical findings, so it's easy for you to begin your investigation. And this is really something we expect customers to just wake up at 2 a.m. if you find a critical severity, because it's not a common thing we see, because there's high fidelity, high efficacy input signals that feed into the model, which kind of does clustering and ranking and all the fancy kind of ML things.
Well, I was going to say, how are we defining what reaches each of these severity levels?
So there's sophisticated data science under the wraps, as you can imagine, right? Like we cluster all these related signal groups, then you will use kind of ranking algorithms to find out which one kind of makes sense and is actually mimicking what we call kind of an attack sequence or an attack.
Got it. Okay.
Right. So let's kind of dive into
let's do it.
What really this looks like. So, like I said, easy way to kind of find out.
Yeah, let's look at those critical ones first.
Yeah, let's look at the critical ones. Let's look at kind of the crypto mining one.
Oh yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah. So here, as you can see, with extended threat detection, one of the other things before we kind of go into this demo is it's in the end a finding. So for an end user, whatever operational workflows you have to kind of respond to a GuardDuty finding, you don't need to change your downstream workflows at all. As long as you have the relevant feeds that are enabled, like EKS audit log monitoring, EKS runtime monitoring, will automatically be generating findings, including extended threat detection. So for you, nothing changes as long as you have the capability set enabled to monitor.
Okay, so you're saying the information's already there. We already have it set up, so the information's here. Now GuardDuty is just using that information that we're already capturing to give us these findings.
Yeah, and we don't want customers to be doing something extra to consume. It's already part of the pipeline that they are already using it. So that's kind of the extensibility.
I like it.
Yeah. So now let's look at what we are trying to say here, right? Here we see there's a Kubernetes cluster that's compromised, and we kind of give information on what was the exact cluster with a sequence of events, right? On the left-hand side, you kind of see, the account.
Okay.
What's the time frame? We see this kind of close to 30-ish minutes or, 40 minutes. We see, more than 14 signals that were part of this entire correlation.
Oh, interesting. So these are 14 signals that would have previously been separate findings.
They'll be separate findings. Now, instead of having to go through 14 individual findings doing the same process,
it's brought all
and
together.
actually they are we are connecting the dots for you. They are all related.
Like we might not have even known that they were related.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's all very well organized too. I can see it's all in plain English here. I can understand what's going on here. It says 14 signals, potential compromise, not necessarily it's happened. And then it's giving you a sequence. It looks like on the right, what are those signals that may have been involved? Now, the MITRE ATT&CK categorization. Help me understand what that is. What does it mean to have something?
So MITREs, they have a taxonomy. You can call it kind of common knowledge, an adversarial tactics, techniques, and common knowledge kind of repository of what are the different ways and methods through which an adversary can, do something bad.
Okay.
Right, and they have broken it into 14 tactics, I believe, and then each tactic will have techniques.
So this is a taxonomy of various kinds of attacks that help you understand what is actually happening. So then you can start to have resolution or respond to those things based on that.
And this is something that helps multiple disparate security solutions kind of talk the same language.
Industry standard.
It's an industry standard, and we are aligning to kind of the findings that are generated to the industry.
And extended threat detection does that mapping for you.
Automatically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and then we'll show what tactics, techniques. But the interesting part is the contextualization at a very high level. Well, everything's great. You look into to those things, but at a high level, we are saying that we see DNS communication to the crypto mining domains automatically kind of just, giving you a headline view, right? Instead of you having to kind of go
trying to dive and figure out, dig right into what's happening.
And then we also detected 3 crypto mining processes, right? So what this did was it has the visibility into the management layer, the control plane, that is CloudTrail. Then it looked into the control plane for your Kubernetes deployments. Basically, if someone accesses a Kubernetes cluster, there is this activity around, okay, who set up the access, who's accessing the cluster, is there a new container that's running? We look at that data. And then we're also looking at within your runtime, that with the agent, a lightweight eBPF-based agent, we're actually looking at what are the processes, what are the system events, what are the file accesses that's there, right? And we're combining it all together.
So this is the portion that's specific to EKS. This is what that GuardDuty had to be trained upon specifically.
Right. For EKS, the findings are kind of for getting our visibility into compromises for EKS clusters.
Okay, so if I'm already using EKS, I already turned on GuardDuty. This is available to me. But if I'm not using GuardDuty, is this something that I have to then install in my cluster?
So that's actually a good question, right? So let's go here.
Oh no, you can ask good questions.
I'm one for 10 today.
So if you see this, right, like on the left panel, we have information around what this feature entails, and what is it that when it talks about enabled. You don't need to specifically enable this detection technique. It automatically is enabled as long as you have the relevant protection plans that are enabled, right? At reInvent, we launched compromise credentials and S3 data compromise, which kind of requires S3 protection of data plane events that we monitor. Then for this GuardDuty threat detection for extended threat detection for EKS, we require either you have EKS audit logs or EKS runtime. More you enable, we'll get more signals. We'll be able to kind of correlate it with.
So I was going to say, what's the difference between the outcome that you would have with either of those two?
Yeah, so with EKS audit log monitoring, we're basically looking into the control plane activity of your Kubernetes deployment. Right? Control plane can be your initial access behavior, like someone logging into your cluster, someone trying to set up a container, right? All those activities, they are actually logged in Kubernetes API server. We basically, from where we independently pull the data without customers having to enable that. That's kind of the benefit of, the first party advantage in a sense. So, and with runtime, we use the lightweight eBPF agent that sits on the host, deployed to the daemon set to kind of get on host activity, right? Like what really happened when your workload is running from a process perspective, your file access behavior, your system events and things.
Okay, so this is when it's already okay.
Yeah, if you have these things enabled, will automatically do the magic in correlating these signals, right? And then coming back here, right? So there's certain other things that might be interesting, right? Like what are the indicators that we see, right? So you can look at a specific technique. We see that there is a crypto mining domain, and these are the different processes that are executing actually, which kind of indicate XMRig is a crypto mining.
And here are the actors.
Yeah, you also have the actors that are part of this, right? So their roles, the process.
So now we know where to get started when we want to protect ourselves.
So you basically even from the perspective of process as an XMRig, we see the exact file path in the SHA information that's there, and then with remediation, while we don't do auto remediation, but we'll provide guided recommendation is what we call, right? Like which will give you steps on how is it that you can contain this. Now on the right hand side, you can basically look at kind of the time series view. You can say that show me the newest first, or if you look at the sequence on what was the first thing that we saw, followed by all these activities that are kind of part of this, right? And we're extracting the fields of interest on the console, so that way you can easily triage. And all of this, by the way, is available as a JSON, like I said, right? Like, downstream workflows are exactly the same. And one last thing, kind of, that's kind of, I found it interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure we will too.
Is you also can look at your compromise information from a resource perspective.
Okay.
This is my cluster that's compromised. What was the underlying Kubernetes workload, the pod that's associated with this, and what was the access key compromise that happened here? So essentially now you know your high-level nuggets that you want to target, and you can go as deep as you want with the story that's already pictured and painted.
Well, see, that's the part that's really important to here is like you can have this high level headline view, here's what's happening, but then you can start to really dive into the detail, and our audience agrees. The poll is checking on this poll here, which one of these capabilities is most valuable? 44% of people are saying the enhanced finding details with the MITRE ATT&CK mappings, followed by the AI and prescriptive remediation.
Yep.
So I wonder if you'll allow me to put you on the spot here. I mean, something that our viewers love is that we make them feel like they are at Reinforce with us. And I know that after this session, you are about to drop your mic and run to a Chalk Talk.
I mean, I was going to do the mic drop moment, but thanks for spoiling.
I took it better. Well, I was wondering, could you give us an overview of what that Chalk Talk is about and what they might...
So for the viewers who are present at the conference, we'd love for you to join the Chalk Talk, wherein we'll dive deep into kind of the recommendation that we have from GuardDuty standpoint based on best practices we saw in the field on which protection plans you should be using and how you can basically scale your threat detection program with what we see generally with strategies and recommendations. So it's TDR 334. Do check out and drop in to say hi.
So when we look at an attack sequence like the one that you showed us, is it the attack sequence that is going to help us determine which type of protection program to use, or what kind of details are we looking at specifically there?
Let's again kind of go back to the screen, right? The screen basically tells us there are 3 extended threat detection findings, basically attack sequence findings that we launched so far. Two were at reInvent, which basically one of it, compromised credential, looks at events from CloudTrail, right? And will kind of the foundational sources. Then one of the other sequence at reInvent that we launched was S3 data compromise. That requires, if you have S3 data event monitoring feature enabled, you'll automatically are covered for that. And the third attack sequence finding or the extended threat detection finding that we launched was today, which is compromised clusters. Wherein we are basically saying that if you have audit logs enabled or runtime enabled, preferably both, but if one of the protection plans that is enabled, we'll start kind of looking for these compromised sequences.
Okay, so outside of just, whether a customer is running an EKS cluster or not, what are other factors that might help them decide whether or not that's a protection plan that might be right for them? Or do you think that everyone who's running an EKS cluster should be using this?
I mean, the prescription is everyone who's using EKS clusters.
All right.
You should use this primarily because of some of the fully managed aspects that are baked into GuardDuty. Like the whole, in case of runtime, as an example, the entire agent management, because when you have to run softwares at the scale of kind of the containers that you would have deployed for a large scale organization, agent management is a very big pain point. We've automated all of that at no extra cost. Especially with runtime, you also get some cost savings in GuardDuty because we get to monitor more contextual data through runtime, so we discount you on some of the other flow logs. And things like that.
I can only imagine what this was like for customers before this feature was enabled. I've got massive potential environments, massive scale, and I've got to pull information from all these different, and that's just getting the information to where I need it. Then once it's there, I have to then do the analysis and understand what's actually happening. But this automatically
we abstract all of that. That's kind of where the being the first party native service kind of it helps us abstract all of that for customers.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, this has been a fantastic session. Thank you for diving into this and giving everyone the inside scoop. We're excited for you to now run to your Chalk Talk. We'll let you go so you can drop the mic and run on out. And hope to see you again on the show sometime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you all stay right where you are. We'll be right back.